Okay.
Hi, it's Julie from the PMFRC. Thank you for joining us again today for our Fireside chat. We have a guest joining us today. Jamie Bramberger is the Manager of Community and Student Affairs at Algonquin College, and he is joining us today to talk about something that is coming up in the community, Canadian Armed Forces Day at Algonquin College. Thanks, Jamie, for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Julie. It's my pleasure.
So just to start off, why don't you just tell me about the event that's happening this Saturday? Give me sort of a broad overview of what you're going to be doing, what you have planned, and what people can expect if they attend.
Well, it's obviously an event that is geared to the military community. We're only about a 15-20-minute drive from Garrison, Petawawa. We have a lot of military members who either are current or former military members, military spouses, dependents who study with us at our Pembroke campus. And so this is the first time we've done a formal day that is geared to the Canadian Armed Forces. And what we're intending to do from 9 a.m. until 12:15, so it's a morning activity, and we suggest that people come for 9 o'clock because it's very, very structured. But we have a number of activities and presentations that are geared to that military community. So, for example, campus tours can be anybody, but we want to make sure that anyone who is connected to the military, whether it be a spouse or an exiting soldier or a veteran or a current member, is aware of all of the programs and services that we deliver at this campus. And they also get an opportunity to see the campus. So the labs, the social spaces, the recreational areas, such as our gym and our fitness center and our rock climbing wall and our library, nursing labs, shops for tradespeople. We really want them to see the entire campus. It's a beautiful site. It's only 10 years old, right on the shores of the Ottawa River. Just a wonderful place to study. So that's one of the things that we hope to achieve. When we talk about gearing this to a military audience, we also wanted to have people available who have walked in the pathway that many of our guests are now walking into, considering post-secondary education. So we have 4 or 5 either current or former military members, alumni, who have studied at our campus. They'll be able to talk about that experience around transitioning from military life to post-secondary, and then where did they end up in their career, or if they're currently a student, what their career aspirations are as they join the civilian workforce. So we think that's really going to be an important part of the day because it's going to be very, very transparent. It's an opportunity to ask questions directly to people who have already done this and what was their experience at both our campus and going back to education. Because for some people, it can be a significant gap from the time they left school prior to their military career until now. The other thing that we have done is we have set up a series of short presentations, only a half-hour long. It's really just to kind of provide an overview, but we're going to talk about things like prior learning assessment and recognition. We're going to talk about the Center for Accessible Learning, which is our staff that supports students with disabilities. In this case, we know we have military members who have a medical release. Might be a physical injury, could be a mental health concern, could be a learning disability. All of these things we support through our Center for Accessible Learning. So we want to make sure that the military community is available or aware of these services. And then the other piece that we're going to look at is academic upgrading, which is a free program for Ontario residents where they can pick up courses such as biology, chemistry, math, English, computer skills that either better prepare them for a post-secondary program or help them achieve admission requirements for some of our programs. For example, if you wanted to be a practical nurse, you need biology and chemistry. You may not have taken that in high school, or you may have taken it 20 years ago and you don't remember it. Academic upgrading is low risk, free programming where people can get up to speed or meet the admission requirements. And the last piece of this is with academic upgrading, we've received some new funding. So we are actually just starting to develop a course right now, which we will launch in the fall for 15 exiting soldiers or military members. And again, another intake of 15 in winter 2024, which is really about being prepared to do post-secondary studies. It'll be a free course for, again, exiting military members. That's who it's targeted at. So we'll be talking about that as well. So quite a bit packed into 3 hours. But we think it will be really, really helpful and beneficial to the military community to get better insight into all that we have to offer here from programming and services.
There's a lot of options that are out there, and I know that Algonquin offers a huge range of different programs. And I think for many of us, you get to a different phase of your life, people change careers so many times in a lifetime, and oftentimes something that you're moving into, it wasn't what you necessarily were thinking of when you were 18 in high school, or in a lot of cases, that job didn't even exist when we graduated from high school. So, going back and taking a second look at some of those courses that maybe you wouldn't have taken, they didn't necessarily interest you at 18, but looking at a different career path, looking at a new avenue, all of a sudden, that's there as well. Also, do you have a lot of mature students at Algonquin? I think, for some people, for myself included, the idea of, you have the idea of college, people coming out of high school, 19, 20-year-olds. Are there a lot of adults studying at Algonquin?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, only 1 in 4 students for our college comes directly from high school. So the majority of our students have some separation from high school. They either went to other post-secondary or they went into the workforce, and then they return to the college environment. One of the fastest growing populations we have are people that have gone to university previously and are now going to college. So they're layering on to their degree by picking up college certificates or diplomas or postgraduate certificates. And it really depends on the program. So for example, a program like social service worker does skew to a more mature audience because it often is about what kind of life experience do you have that you bring into the program as you earn the skills. Nursing as well, we get lots of younger students, but we have many mature students, business, computer systems technician. Again, very, very attractive to mature applicants, including military members and military spouses. The other thing I wanted to mention that I didn't reference earlier, we'll also have staff here from our Ottawa campus who work with our online campus. That's important for current military members because online training, access to certificates and diploma programs and courses gives you the flexibility to do that work at any point during the day because it's module based. So students can, if they're late night people, they can complete their courses at that time while they are still serving in the Canadian Armed Forces. So and now with the internet being pretty much available anywhere or in most places in the world, even if you're on training or on deployment or what have you, there is an opportunity to continue with your studies. So I think that's another option that, a few years back, online learning wasn't as prevalent as it is now, and the pandemic accelerated that. So you've never had so much choice, so much flexibility around hybrid learning, multimodal, which is choosing on a day-by-day basis whether you go to campus or you join a course online. So it's really a good time to be a student. And of course, we haven't even talked about the labor market and how hot it is right now and how many opportunities are out there. So,
and I was just thinking, like in that panel discussion, I know, some of the jobs that you were talking about, like social service workers in this community, like those are jobs. There's a lot of programs that Algonquin has that, there are jobs that are really hot right now, that are really in need right now. And jobs that, it's going to be a lot easier at the end of graduation to find a job very, very quickly in the community that you're in, or maybe even a community that you want to move back closer to home. The people at Algonquin can sort of let you know where those employment trends are, because they do change from, rapidly as we go through.
But what we're seeing right now is right across the Canadian local labor market, or here in our own backyard. There are many, many sectors that are really, really struggling right now with recruiting employees. And there are a number of reasons for that, but the primary one is we're getting older. If you look at Renfrew County, the national census data shows that 1 in 4, 25% of our population is now 65 years of age or older. We're not having as many children as we once did. We're relying more and more on immigration to fill labor market gaps. There aren't enough youth. And when the pandemic arrived and it accelerated and changed the way we work, it created all of these opportunities for virtual employment or hybrid employment, which took away place-based employment the way we once knew it. You kind of worked in your backyard. You worked, because you had to travel to work every day. Well, that changed. It opened up a whole bunch of opportunities that didn't exist for people previously. So as a result of that, you've got chronic labor market shortages, and in some sectors, it's worse than others. Healthcare is a good example of that. So if you're now getting post-secondary training, and many careers require some sort of credential, this is a great time because the labor market is so robust. There's such a great need. And if you can transition and, from the military or be a military spouse who is, posted to Petawawa, new to the area, you take that opportunity to say, this is a good time for me to go back to school. I don't know where we're going to end up, but college credentials are transferable. You can use them across the country once you have that piece of paper. So I think it is a really, really good time, and the labor market is driving this for a lot of people, just creating more opportunities than people have ever had to find the career that is right for them.
And just sticking with the idea of military family members, you talked earlier about the flexibility and members being able to do it while they're on training or deployments. Also, often as military family members, we find our schedules and our ability to make commitments really changes depending on what your partner is doing. So, if sometimes you want to sometimes take a course, but don't necessarily know if there's a deployment coming or training coming, and then you have childcare to worry about. So sometimes you take a pass on these opportunities. But if this is an option, if you could do it online, if you can sort of dial in from home at times that work for you, all of a sudden it gives you an opportunity to pursue something because you know that you're going to have that flexibility to finish it.
Absolutely. And, the important consideration, I think, in this is we all learn differently. Some people, you need to be motivated. You need to be very, very structured to do online education because there still are deadlines. It doesn't mean that you can do it whenever. There still is a deadline that you have to get assignments in. So you really have to look at what's happening in your life. How do you learn best? Are you better to choose to come to a college with bricks and mortar with a teacher right in front of you? Or are you disciplined enough to do this online? And this is, a window in time where I have that opportunity to do these studies in this way. So it's very, very individualized. And there's lots of people here at the college that can help answer those questions, for students. And academic upgrading is probably one of the best programs to help people figure that out, because they have support of a project officer who's going to work with them, an academic advisor, the faculty gets to know them as they continue to kind of upgrade their skills, either meeting admission requirements or just, picking up on education that's been vacant from their life for a long time. Either because, they, in the case of a military spouse, it might be that children arrived and there wasn't an opportunity to come back into education at that moment in time. So they've been separated from it for a duration of time. For a soldier, it could be they left high school at 17, joined the military, and they've been in the military now 15 years. And, the priority was their military career. It wasn't education. But now they're starting to think about, maybe I'm going to get out. Maybe I want to progress. I want to get to a different rank. And having post-secondary education would really be beneficial to me. So it really comes down to the personal circumstances. Just one other comment on this. We did a survey, an entering student survey at our Pembroke campus in 2019 that was quite striking. And we asked the incoming students, which is about 600 students. We have usually, between 950 to 1,000 students on an annual basis. But that particular year, there were about 600 level 1 students. So we asked them the question in the survey, how many of you have a direct military connection within your immediate family? The answer was 3 out of 10. So if you think about that, and we have a number of employees who are also tied to the military here, either former soldiers, military spouses, what have you. There's a lot of support here because people understand the military way of life. And that can be really, really helpful. And, it makes it a very, very military friendly campus. And I think that's an important message that we want to put out on Saturday as well.
And I think it's really important to have that opportunity. You might just even be thinking about it. Maybe it's not necessarily this year that this is something you want to think about, but doing that fact gathering right now, sort of having those conversations. We talked about the prior learning assessments. Maybe you want to spend some time taking a look, talk to somebody else about Algonquin about, this is the career that I've had. These are the things that I have done. What are the kinds that, can some of that be used towards credits? How does that work? Sitting down and having that conversation to help you make a better decision either now or in September or even in a year from now when you want to do that.
And we have our prior learning assessment and recognition coordinator, Kim Drake, is going to be here on Saturday. So she will be spending a little bit of time talking about prior learning assessment and recognition. Even if someone doesn't get the chance to really have a good one-on-one with her, they'll be able to pick up her business card, make an appointment, and then sit down and have a deeper conversation if that's something they want to pursue.
One last question before we go. Can you just show up? Do we register? How does somebody get involved and attend on Saturday?
Well, we'd like them to pre-register. They can do that by just visiting our website, which is algonquincollege.com/Pembroke. There is a banner right on our homepage that talks about the Canadian Armed Forces Day on Saturday, April 15th. They just click on that. They'll see a big registration button. They go in there, it's through Eventbrite, and they let us know they're coming. But we're not going to turn anybody away. If someone forgets to do that, or they run into a technical glitch and they can't figure it out, just come on in. We want to welcome the military community. We want them to see our facilities, learn about our programs and services, meet some of our staff. And we expect this is going to be an annual event. This is the first time we've done this, but we do think that this is important, particularly given the growth of the garrison. And we know that a lot of people that come here because of a posting end up settling in this region. And in some cases, for former military members, they also have access to funding to pursue post-secondary education, so that they can go into the civilian workforce. So it's important that they know what's available to them at the local level if they're going to stay in this area. And that's what Saturday is all about.
Perfect. Thanks for joining us. We are going to put the link to Algonquin College and to specifically this event in the comment section. So you have a chance to just click on the link and sign up right away. Thanks for joining us, Jamie, to tell us a little bit more about it. And we hope you have lots of folks there on Saturday doing that fact finding and getting that information. Have a great day.
Many are already registered. Thank you.
Bye.